Hello YouTube, Dave here again. In this video I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my more recent experiences with individuals on eBay. I know that a lot of people who are looking to get into Dungeons & Dragons or even looking to get into collecting the books are probably going to turn to something like eBay as a way of, completing their collections or at least getting them started. So basically, I kind of wanted to just do a little bit of a buyer's guide. I'm not going to discuss really prices so much in this video, but just some things to kind of look out for. So there's two experiences in particular I want to kind of discuss. I was going through, I don't really buy anything off of eBay just because, as good as the prices may be on certain things, it's made up for on the shipping. Like, I'm not going to spend $12 on a book and then spend $16 to $20 on shipping, right? It just defeats the whole purpose of getting at that lower price. But that aside, the experiences that I had, I was going through a list of like things that were being put up for auction, or most of it was actually like buy it nows and stuff, which is a whole other tangent, but there was a couple things that really stood out to me. The first one was someone who was selling 2 Players Handbooks for what they had listed as 3.5. Now, immediately, as somebody who, has all the different Players Handbooks for the various editions, with the exception of the first run style of second edition Players Handbooks, I know what they tend to look like. So when I saw the listing for the 3.5 Players Handbooks and saw that this was the cover, then there were actual pictures that were taken of the books. So it wasn't like just a Google search where they took an image. This, was actual pictures that you could tell the seller had taken of it. Now, the reason I have a problem with it is that this was being advertised as a 3.5 Players Handbook, which it's not. This is the 3.0 Players Handbook. And for comparison, here's the 3.5. So you can see that the 3.5 Player's Handbook obviously has a lot more sort of detail on the cover. It's got, the fancier ring around the sword. This one has the sword in the book and just like a metal ring. This one has like some spheres here, some gems here. And all in all, it just looks like a much fancier looking cover. So seeing this listing, it actually prompted me to create an account for another reason, just to contact the seller and say, hey, I was looking at your listing. I just want to make you aware that what you have in your pictures are the 3.0 Players Handbooks, not the 3.5. The reason for this, I don't want you to receive any negative feedback, because there are groups out there, if somebody who's new, their group's playing 3.5, they see your listing, get these books, the DM may not allow them to use them, because there's enough differences between 3.0 and 3.5 that you may have Dungeon Masters to simply say, no, you can't use that version. You have to go and get the actual 3.5 book. So I just sent him a quick message, and he sent me a quick response back saying, thanks, man, I appreciate that. And he updated the listing. So, that seemed totally fine. The prices weren't bad for 2 books, but it was just, it was nice to help somebody out, and, they genuinely appreciate it, and they fixed their listing, and hopefully they were able to sell it. So anyway, so that was, a more positive experience dealing with a seller. After that, I was going through and I saw a listing for a soft cover 3.5 Players Handbook. And the seller had had the listing there, and it had like a question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point next to it. So I clicked on the listing, and he's a seller that has a lot of things for for sale. It's basically like almost like an online store type of thing. And he's over in the UK, so he was selling his products in British pounds. But the site will translate that into, or convert that into, in my case, Canadian dollars. And I read his description. He had a list, and next to, and at his product description, he said, the softcover Player's Handbook, I didn't even know that this existed, so it's pretty rare, and that's why it costs so much. Which is where I want to talk about prices. I'm not going to mention this seller by name, but I'm sure you'll see it, if you do a search for it. He's selling this softcover Player's Handbook for 90 British pounds, which works out to 180 Canadian dollars, which is just absolutely insane. Nobody should ever buy something for that price, for a simple role-playing book. And the fact that in his description he said he had no idea what it was, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to send him a message and let him know exactly what it was. So I just sent him a message, saying, I was looking at your listing. I just want to let you know the softcover Player's Handbook came in a box set that was released, I believe, in 2006 or 7. And it was a player's kit. And in it, it had, a set of dice. It had some quick reference rules for the different character classes. I think it had some character sheets. And it had a softcover Player's Handbook. And it's like, so yes, the item is rare, but it's part of a set. So it's not really, it's not as valuable as, what you have it listed at 90 pounds. Like, it's just, $180 for a Player's Handbook just isn't going to work. So I just said, you may want to look at the price because it's uncommon, but it's not as sought after as, the price may indicate. So the response back was actually kind of shocking and a little disappointing. So I get, this big long rant basically where, he started off by thanking me for my unsolicited aid, like, it's like an advice. And he basically dismissed what I had told him simply based off the fact that I never sold anything on eBay, which is true. I don't plan on selling things on eBay. But, it was very insulting. He said that, who am I to tell him how to run his business? And he went on about, getting some booklets or things from an event over where he was that was given away for free initially. Nobody really wanted, but he held on to them and began selling them for an absorbent amount of money. So this is somebody who is basically existing on eBay for no other reason than to get as much money out of people as possible. And, he didn't know anything about the product that he was selling, had no interest of selling it at a fair price. He basically is there to gouge people by his own admission. He's saying that he will sell things for whatever price he sees fit because somebody out there will pay for it. And in the end, he basically suggested that I go teach, instead of offering him advice on how to run his business as he's about to turn 50, that I should instead spend my time teaching my grandmother how to suck eggs. So normally I don't respond to this kind of thing. I was a bit blown away by just how, almost childish and, the response was. So finally, I decided that this was a situation where I need to respond. And I just sent him a quick message back starting off with, hey, listen, I didn't mean to upset you. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your business. And you're right, I've never sold anything on eBay. However, if I were to sell something on eBay, I would take the time and the responsibility as a seller to basically research what it is that I'm selling. And assess it and sell it at what is a fair price for what it is. Using the softcover Player's Handbook as an example, it's part of a set. So it's not even a complete item. It's part of a larger set of things that, you may be able to sell for that price if you have it all together. But the fact that, it's just softcover doesn't make it more valuable. You take a look at the Player's Handbook and, so this is basically all that it is. It's a regular Player's Handbook. Instead of having the hard cover, it's got a paperback cover, which is more susceptible to damage. And not only that, but Wizards of the Coast, back in 2012, reprinted the Player's Handbooks, like the core rule books, which are still more or less readily available for a lot of retailers. So the accessibility of a brand new version of that book, kind of goes towards dropping the value for it as well. So, in the end, it's like, I wish you the best and, I hope you're able to sell it, but, I wouldn't be selling it at that price based off of what it is. Now, this same seller had a copy of the Zero Edition books, so these things here. Now, it came in the original box, and the price that he was selling it for ended up being 11,000 Canadian dollars for these books. I believe the reference sheets and the box that it came in. So the moral of the story basically is, if you're going to go on eBay to buy books, know what you're looking for, do some research, know what a fair price is. If I were to sell a 3.5 Players Handbook on eBay or online in general, I probably wouldn't try selling it for any more than $25, right? I may try selling the reprint at maybe 30 to 35, but probably no more than 30, just because this was more expensive to buy than this version. That being said, just be careful. D&D books in general don't appreciate in value, and a lot of times as soon as you buy a book and it's considered to be used, the value of it drops almost in half. It's kind of like driving a car off a lot. So just be careful when you're on eBay. Try not to pay above cover price, unless absolutely necessary. In general, just don't support people who are only out there to gouge as much money as they can from you. And I hope to God that nobody ever purchases that $11,000 zero edition set. I paid probably about $35 to $40 a piece for these, along with a few other things, but I would not pay $11,000 for these plus the box. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick little video about that experience and just let people know what to look out for when it comes to eBay. Make sure that you're not paying too much for shipping, and if it's one of those situations where the book's a good deal but the shipping's almost the same price as the book, maybe go to one of your local shops and see if they have any used books in decent condition there. Anyway, just a quick video I wanted to do about that eBay experience, and hope you enjoyed it, hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you next time.